First of all, Happy New Year. I hope you've had a good festive period and the year ahead's looking very positive. I know you've not seen me for quite a while, and I must apologise for that because it's a bit embarrassing, to be honest, because I put a video out saying, oh, full time, I'm going to do more videos, and then just silence. And the truth is, it just went a little bit crazy with workshops, one-to-ones, being in Scotland and other various commitments. And, it's a new business. I've been self-employed for a long time, but this is new. It's a different way of working. I'm making mistakes, trying to find the right balance between creating content and also getting out there and making sure I'm allowing time for myself and personal development as a photographer. So I think what I'm going to do in 2019 is to share a little bit more, which is going to involve sharing some of the journey which so far I've kept to myself, such as days like this where the conditions are quite flat. I don't expect to really create any inspiring images today, but I spend a lot of time coming out on days like this, getting to know different areas and looking for potential, and I want to sort of share some of those days a little bit more often with you, and hopefully give some kind of good insights into the way that I work and go about producing images. Now I get questions and comments from lots of followers saying things like, oh, you get so much fog, or you make woodland photography look easy, but I can tell you with absolute certainty that the great conditions are really very infrequent, to be honest. And when I can make images work, that's usually an accumulation of a lot of time, effort, and a real genuine love for the locations in which I shoot. Now, sometimes I can come out and find a good composition with complementary conditions on my very first visit, but those occasions really are rare, and I like to think that when I do make images work under those conditions, it's very much down to my genuine kind of connection with that type of environment, which really allows me to start seeing rather than just wandering around looking all the time. The other thing that I often think about as well is that it's extremely easy to become a slave to social media and feel this obligation as a full-time photographer to drip feed content for YouTube and Instagram and other different platforms. And it's important to get content out there, but if I feel this pressure and obligation, then I'm going to run the risk of taking pictures which I don't really care about myself, but they serve a purpose and tick some boxes, where what I'd really like to try and preserve is this feeling and fulfillment from only photographing the subjects and scenes that I genuinely connect with, and a true reflection of how I see the world as well. And I don't know, maybe it's to my detriment that I have this very romantic view of photography and expect to somehow earn a living from going out there and only photographing trees and different areas of woodland. But that's what I love, and I think even if it results in me putting out less content, at least if I put something out there that I really care about, then I'm going to feel good about it, and if I feel good about it, then hopefully you as a viewer can see that and can feel that and get that sense and that vibe through the screen as well. Now, I like to think of myself as a passionate photographer, but this passion is born from, firstly, a love for just being here in places just like this. But it's fair to say that sometimes actually just being in the moment has taken precedence over the actual taking of photographs or the production of videos. But my kind of attitude of low expectation, shooting local, caring, and probably a degree of stubbornness as well is what's led me to a handful of images that I'm actually really proud of. But having that level of patience to wait months or actually even years to get that single shot in a particular location, which perhaps I've already spent months trying to find, and weeks scouting, that idea might really just sort of seem quite ludicrous. But this long-term view, or playing the long game if you like, I really do think will ultimately pay dividends, both creatively, photographically, and for me personally as well. So what for me is involved in playing the long game? Well, it's days just like this where I have no expectation of creating an image that I particularly like, because the conditions aren't conducive to the type of photography that I like. The light's quite flat, it's quite dull, there's not much going on in the way of atmosphere, but it's still a lovely morning to be out. And I still very much enjoy the process of these days in familiarising myself with the location even further, but also just trying out some test compositions and trying to visualise something which could be much more special in the future. Now, some might argue that a good photographer can take a great photograph no matter what the conditions, and I'm kind of inclined to agree with that, but you know, I don't feel compelled or have a burning desire to take an image every time I go out. I think it's also absolutely fine to have a real kind of strong vision and idea of what you want to take, the types of images that you want to take, and just stick with that, go with that, and have that end goal, because that one single image that you're working towards could really epitomise your type of photography and what you love about woodland or the coast or whatever it is that you like to take photographs of. And for me, I get a real kick out of not just having realised a vision in a very personal way, but also the likelihood of having a whole series of experiences and stories that have led up to that single moment as well. So I've been wandering around for a little while now, doing exactly what I was talking about, just enjoying, searching, looking for subjects which I really like the look of. But to tell you a little bit more about the location where I am, well, I'm in North Yorkshire as usual, my local countryside, but just over to my right hand side here is a woodland where I have shot video before, which kind of followed a similar format where I was talking about scouting and visualising. And it's quite relevant to mention that because I'm talking about playing the long game. And it's ages since I shot the video in there, and I've still not been able to go back and get the types of images that I want, because, you know, going back to when, you know, people were saying, oh, you get lots of fog, well, I've not seen it. Ever since doing that video, I've still waiting to capture some nice misty conditions, and it doesn't have to be mist. You know, that mist and fog isn't the secret to woodland photography. All sorts of other conditions, you know, are conducive to good woodland photography as well. And it just kind of depends on the woodland too. But yeah, I'm still kind of waiting to go and get some images that I'm really happy with in that woodland. But like I said, it's about patience. Well, actually, is it about patience? Because I kind of struggle with that word patience, because patience kind of means to tolerate a delay, and I don't see it as tolerating anything, because it's just a period of time between finding something that you like and capturing the image that you visualized. You know, that time in between isn't about toleration, it's about actually just using that time to come out and enjoy, and also in the meantime be scouting other locations and other subjects. And you know, you kind of, I've always got these different scenes and subjects in the back of my mind that I can go to at different points in the year depending on where the good conditions are. So yeah, there's always kind of like a different mix of things going on. But anyway, I've come across these two silver birch. So the kind of main woodlands over there, I'm kind of out on the open moor here, and I don't know, I seem to be quite drawn to the open moor at this time of year in the winter time, because I like it when things like silver birch, we don't get a lot of silver birch around here really, but these two are really quite nice. And when they lose the leaves, the show follows like really nice delicate branches, and they've got such a nice quality to them that really kind of shines through in the winter time as well, I think. I mean, they look great in autumn, they probably look great all year round, but I do like them in winter, where you just sort of start to show the character and the bare shape of the trunk and the branches and the kind of different gestures that they have. But I think these for me are going to look fantastic if we can get a really good frost. I just want something frosty, perhaps a little bit of mist, just to kind of offer that little bit of separation between the foreground tree and the background one, but just something that's got, you know, very cold feel to it, which will really complement the delicate branches and go with the tones of the tree as well, the light bark, the slight magenta hues and the light branches as well. And apart from anything else, this would be a super simple composition. It's very easy. It's just that these two trees work well together. Just a little kink in the one in the background, and then when it kind of leans back towards this one, so the kind of main gesture of this foreground tree is left to the right, the one in the background is a bit more right to left, so you kind of get this nice interaction between the two trees, and I love that. And it's super simple, but it's the character and the shape of the trees themselves that really kind of make it quite a nice photograph. That I think I find it quite compelling. And the thing about composition, I mean, like I said, this one is super simple, but you got to think about perspective, and to get the right angle on this, I know I'm going to have to be further back and zoom in just to bring that background tree a little bit further forward. And I know that if I get too close, I'm kind of going to be looking up at that foreground tree, so I'm not going to like that perspective. I just want to really kind of get that interaction between the two, and you know, if I go too close and zoom out, the one in the background is just going to get a little bit lost, I think. So I'm going to take a picture of it anyway, just from my records. I like to kind of build up a library of images that I'm working towards, and it's also quite interesting as well to then compare the original concept image, if you like, to the final image that you're happy with. But yeah, I like that. Super simple, nice and easy. There's some other nice little silver birch, not many, there's a couple of nice little dotted around, so I'm going to find 1 or 2 other compositions and then I'll call it a morning, I think. So I've come across one last scene which I think has quite a lot of potential. It's got some really nice features to it actually. Over on the right hand side here in the foreground we've got another silver birch. I mean, this seems much more complex than the previous one. There's a lot more to consider, but I definitely think there's something here. But yeah, this foreground silver birch has these lovely draping branches. So we've got the branches coming out off the main trunk, and then we've got these really sort of delicate, thin, magenta tone branches just draping down, which I'd imagine in a hoarfrost, which is quite rare, you know, so I don't want to keep my hopes up too high. But in a hoarfrost, they would look magical, and like I said, they've got that really nice kind of delicate and fragile quality. But then there's down in the valley there's some oak trees, and then up on the hillside in the distance, we've got another oak tree there. I think there's some hawthorns. Some stone wall and some old ruins. So I love the perspective that you get when you're stood on a hillside looking at the opposite hillside, because it gives you those opportunities for those layers and depth and recession of trees into the distance. So yeah, I think there's something that could be good here. It does need some mist. I don't think I'd want fog. I don't want that kind of really kind of thick, moody fog. I'd probably want something a little bit softer, just enough to make this foreground silver birch stand out a little bit more and separate it from the clutter in the background, and just enough just to kind of soften that scene and give something that's probably fairly high key, very wintry, very crisp and quite soft, and perhaps a touch of etherealness as well. So yeah, there's definitely something there. So we are in the middle of winter. You know, it was supposed to be frosty this morning actually, but there's just no frost whatsoever. But yeah, I'm quite happy to wait as long as it takes, but fingers crossed we might get some good conditions this winter. So as with everything that I say in videos or in articles or on workshops, this is just an approach to photography which works for me. And what works for me might not be an approach which you particularly enjoy, but it's just something that I find personally fulfilling because I find the actual act of taking a photograph to be a very small part of the overall process. But that's it for this episode. I'm going to head home, have my usual very large mug of coffee. But thank you very much for watching. I'll definitely be back again soon. Can I also take this opportunity to mention one of my workshops? I'm back up in Scotland again in October. I'm up there for 2 weeks. The first week is sold out. There's only 2 places left in the second week. So if you're interested in that, please take a look at my website. The link is in the description below. But thanks again, and I'll be back again soon, and I hope to see you then.